Welcome to Off Script, the Dream Pitch podcast, sponsored by Tiller. Each week, we're joined by closers who are actively pitching and closing deals at some of the biggest names in tech and recruitment. We ask them what their dream pitch is, with their favourite prompts for rapport building, discovery, objection handle, closing question, and mistake they won't make again. And this week, I'm joined by Ben from Stonor.
Hi.
Hi, Ben. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, good to meet you. I just want everyone to know I didn't mispronounce that, and it is Stonor, and it's Stonor Recruitment. And the reason it's called that is why?
Basically, David started the business. I looked at the map and chose somewhere memorable. And yeah, Stonor was the place.
It worked well.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, Ben, before we get into your kind of rapport building questions and what you do on your dream pitch, we're going to find out a little bit more about you and what you're doing. Okay?
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. Well, let's start with your role and what your business does. The name of the title gives it away a bit. Name of the company. But so Ben, what do you do?
So I'm a recruitment consultant for SaaS companies at Stonor Recruitment. The business, most of the business actually focus on marketing agencies. That's historically what the business has done for the longest time. However, I've come in and started the sales and marketing desk for SaaS businesses.
Great. Okay. Really exciting industry. Lots of growth in SaaS sales, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. So, what's the day-to-day look like for Ben? Is it predominantly prospecting? Is it predominantly pitching? Is it predominantly trying to work out who the hell's got jobs to give? How does your day pan out?
Yeah, it's probably slightly difficult from a typical sales role with 360. So I'm contacting clients and candidates. So a lot of the time I am prospecting, looking for new business, finding out who is hiring. And then a lot of the time I'm also speaking to those candidates. I'm posting adverts for roles. It's fairly busy. You have to manage your time well. But yeah, I love it. I love speaking to loads of different people.
Yeah, great. Yeah, just always the thing about recruitment is one of the nice things about working in a sales role is you have a product, you have someone to pitch that to, and your product's normally a well-behaved product or service. Yeah. Whereas what you have is you've also got to go and find that product and service, and they also need lots of training and talking through and working with to make sure they're going to be successful in that interview as well. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a lot of consulting work, both client side and candidate side. So you're coaching through how a hiring process works sometimes. Literally coaching them through how they can improve the hiring process, as well as a candidate coaching them through that. Hence why we found Tiller so useful.
Nice, thanks for the plug. This is going to be the headline of the video. Okay, cool. Okay, and then in terms of your sales career so far, how far into it are you?
So I've been in recruitment coming up to 4 years nice. In January. So yeah.
Congratulations. Thanks. Is it what will you do for your 4-year anniversary?
Hopefully make some more placements.
There you go. Make Ben's dreams come true for his 4-year and recruit someone from him. Great. Okay. And what in terms of recruitment 4 years ago, 4 years younger Ben, stumbling around the job market going, what am I going to do with my life? And found recruitment, or was 8 years old, had a phone given to him and thought, I'm going to be a recruiter one day. Where do you fall on that spectrum?
It's not something I actively chose to go into. I actually started off in accountancy from school. I wanted to finish my A-levels, go into accountancy and do sort of an internship, apprenticeship there. I started, got a few sort of qualifications, and whilst working at the accountancy firm, I just realised there's just not enough interaction for me there. So obviously sales and recruitment was a natural thing to go into because you're talking to people all day. Essentially, I love it now. I love speaking to people from all over the world, and I've had loads of enjoyment from it, and hopefully many more.
Great. Yeah. Well, absolutely. What are the skills that you took away from the accountancy side of things that you've brought into your sales role that give you the edge?
Yeah, so actually in my interview with Charlie, my MD, he loved how sort of data driven I was. I'm very analytical when it comes to things. It's sort of just how my brain works. I like numbers, I like spreadsheets, and so that is naturally quite good for sales, just keeping up to date on numbers and everything like that, which is not typical with the other hires from Stonor, but I think it's successful, and I've got my ways of working, I guess.
yeah, that's great. That's really good. I think every sales leader's dream is someone that isn't seeing sales as this kind of role where you just have a conversation and you wheel a dealer in, you have a chat, and you're going to close the deal. I think it takes the best salespeople are full-rounded, and the more analytics you can bring to sales, the more you're going to advance and get stronger. So I think you're a real edge for that reason.
Thanks.
And then in terms of your first 4 years, mentors, who have your mentors been? Who have you been learning from?
Yeah, so I learn from everyone in the office. We're quite a small team, so we're all in the office every day. We're in a small little converted barn in South Oxfordshire, so it's lovely. But Charlie's been the main one. He's my MD. He's been doing this for a long time. He's given me tons of support through the last 4 years, but he's just taught me to stay busy, don't quit, and essentially speak to as many people as possible, and most importantly, go to meet people face to face. I think that's the way you build the most rapport, and you always get a different sort of feeling from someone as soon as you've met them face to face, I think, rather than everything. Well, when I started sales, it was all sort of online because it was just after COVID. So,
yeah, absolutely. It has changed a lot, even in a short amount of time, in terms of how it looks. And there is a lot of video chats which have its place and are really successful. And then if you can get that face-to-face meeting, there's always that stronger connection because you're meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. Okay, so let's move on to your dream pitch when you're pitching away and winning those new business. So we're going to focus this for this pitch on when you're selling to place someone in a role. Is that right?
Yeah. So essentially, we sort of pitch to businesses to help them hire. Essentially. So yeah.
Super. Cool. Okay. Well, let's start with your rapport building question. You get on the video chat, start to have your conversation. How are you opening that up? How are you building rapport?
Of course. So a lot of the time I'll basically do a little bit of research beforehand, whether it's personal or business related. For example, I actually went on a call the other day and noticed that, well, prior to this, I noticed he had a SoundCloud mix, and nice. He does a bit of DJing part-time. So I listened to it in the morning, and it was like really upbeat and energetic. And I got on the call and I was like, I listened to your mix this morning, it really got me going. And he loved it, to be fair, and it just immediately made him more relaxed and realised I've actually taken the time to actually look a bit more in depth into him and his business. But if they go straight into business related, or you can't find as much personal information, I find it a good way to sort of open the conversation is whoever handles their hiring, have they ever pitched to you? Have they ever pitched your company to you? So they know how they're pitching to candidates.
Yeah. Nice. That's super smart.
Yeah.
SoundCloud DJ is not something every prospect will have, but what a bit of gold when they have it.
Absolutely. Yeah. You got to take advantage of that.
Yeah, great. Really good. Okay, and so once you've started talking about Ibiza and mega mixes from the SoundCloud, you're then going to move on to kind of learning about that business and a bit of discovery. So what's your style of discovery? How do you go about doing that?
I tend to focus on challenges that they've got. So what's the biggest challenge you're facing in finding the right talent, or has your hiring strategy changed with the recent market challenges, or something along those lines? That does prompt them to think about what challenges they actually do have. And it may not be an immediate answer, but the next time you call them, they'll have an answer for you.
Yeah, so it's about sowing the seed in their minds about some of the challenges that they're facing right now, obviously they're busy, so they might not be able to, wouldn't have sat down and thought about those recently, but you're giving them the space to consider those, and so they'll notice them when they're around and looking at them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a really clever move. And have you ever had someone just break down on a call because they realise they've got loads of challenges?
Not really. I do tend to find that it's it's sort of a follow-up call when you get the actual answer.
Yeah.
They may have a short think about it on the call, but a lot of the time it's like we don't really have that many challenges at the moment, or we are finding the right people, and then you call them up again, and then they're like, oh well, we are struggling with this actually. So yeah, it's a good way to just prompt them to think about it.
Yeah, I think it's the really consultative part of sales is you're giving them that space to think, and in their heads they're like everything's fine, and most of the time if you're busy you can't go around trying to find problems because you've probably got something immediately in front of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So bringing it to the forefront definitely works. Super. Okay. Objection handling. You've discovered them incredibly. They've got loads of problems, but no matter what, they're going to come up with some reason why they can't move forward right now.
Yeah.
So how do you go about doing that? Are you a process guy around that, or do you have a technique you follow to help with that?
So a lot of the time it's to do with sort of internal talent teams, or they're using another agency. So I always ask them how that's working out for them. I basically say, are they delivering what you need? Again, it probably prompts them to think about this because I don't think they normally think about it. Basically, I asked them, have they ever been able to compare what their internal talent team is actually doing with an external agency? Again, they won't have ever compared it, so it's that's the best way I find, just making them sort of think, like you said, sowing the seed.
100%. I think that internal recruitment teams have an incredibly challenging job because most of the time they've been hired, they've been told to handle all the recruitment for everything, and the kind of concept is therefore we won't work with external recruiters because we'll have these two people trying to do it all at once. And they're run ragged, they're doing a lot of things, and most of the time you'll start working with external agencies where maybe they've tried for 3 or 4 months and it hasn't really worked out right. So that's when you'll start to find people starting to go for it. But really, if they were honest, like the internal recruiters have to find the people, have to interview them, have to make sure the interview process is going well. They have a lot more people around them giving them a lot of information about the kind of person they want and what they're doing. So they can't deliver the kind of same speed or growth that an external one can do. You've also got the fact that you have databases and relationships with people out of not just focused in one business, but a much wider business, right? So but everyone in their heads are like, we have an internal recruitment team, so we don't have to work with an external recruiter. And once you start to challenge that a bit and open up, well, what are they struggling with? Because they will be struggling with something, because there's no way you've resourced them properly to succeed. Then all of a sudden that starts to make sense and come together a bit more. Absolutely.
We've got a huge sort of, well, in theory we have better talent and huge outreach, and we've got proven track record of great turnaround times. So it's just prompting them to keep thinking, comparing, and that's basically the best objection handling.
Nice. Okay, so once you've handled that and they've gone, oh yeah, we desperately need your help, what's your closing technique like? Do you take going for the kill straight away, sign this contract, or is it a process, or do you use micro nudging to get them there? What do you use to kind of get them there?
It's probably a little different from any other sales technique. I basically offer our services. I ask them if they want to see some candidates. If they've got live roles, it gets a taste of what we do. You get to see our turnaround. You get to see our process. It's very limited effort on their behalf, and it's a quick transaction, and you can basically see what we can offer. Recently for actually a VP of operations role, I basically handed over a shortlist 3 days after speaking to them on the phone, and basically a follow-up was like, I think we need to speak to a couple of these guys, which was the ideal answer, really.
Yeah, so it's about putting your expertise in the shop window in order for them to see your ability to pull these candidates together.
Yeah, absolutely. It basically shows what we can do.
And what's your have you had a favorite story of closing, of maybe a one call close, or you thought, oh, this is never going to happen, and it just pulled out of nowhere?
Sort of. I've had a lot of sort of pitches, sometimes with sort of head of people and stuff like that, where they're really closed off to start with.
Yeah.
And they don't want your help, and you sort of slowly turn them around, show them that you're actually worth the time, and we are more consultants than actually just sort of CV pushers. We can offer a bit more than that, everything around retention, and then at the end I just say, hold on, do you want to see a couple of CVs? That's a good feeling when you feel like you've completely turned the tides.
Amazing. That's you at the influencing at your finest. That's such a good feeling. Such a good feeling. Earning your money that day.
Yeah, that's it.
Great. And then finally, a mistake you'll never make again on a pitch.
Yeah, I think the biggest one is making assumptions. Basically, just be transparent. When I was a bit more junior and green to pitches, if I didn't know the answer, I'd maybe make something up. I think you need to just. I think you just need to be. Yeah, you just need to be transparent. And a lot of the tech that these companies are working with are complex. And a lot of the time I'm not the expert, so I don't know too much in it. So I just say, just forgive me for asking, but what does that mean? Or just ask the questions. I find that people are a lot more susceptible to you, acceptable to you, to basically, essentially, if you ask the questions, it shows you want to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's your biggest mistake when making an assumption on a call?
Probably around salary.
Right.
Because then when it came to the role, I couldn't find anyone at that price.
Yeah. That's a good thing to learn quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do learn quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a big, there's still kind of a wide, is there the unproportionate understanding of what people should be paid in the market by people? If you still look at some SDR sales exec salaries, there's still people asking for 25k for an SDR, which is now completely under the London living wage if it's for a London role. Do you still see that kind of people really pushing down salaries, or did COVID kind of change that a bit, because there was a time when salaries went up quite a lot and it seemed to be like you paid every SDR £45,000 a year? So what do you see at the moment?
It's it completely depends on the company. A lot of companies are encouraging people to come back in, and a lot of the time salaries are a little bit higher to encourage that. And then you do get the other way, where they're saying that there's huge upmarks on it, or there's a huge OTE that you can earn with basics, very low. With SDRs, a lot of the time it's an entry level job, so I don't think that's the right move.
No.
And you want to back your salespeople. So, but yes, basically there's a huge like difference in pay scales, and a lot of the more established businesses will pay a lot more for a BDR than the sort of startups.
Yeah. And in terms of the OTE of an SDR when they're starting out, and to any budding SDR or junior salesperson looking at sales roles and salaries, in your experience from what you've seen kind of then being delivered by people you've put in roles, would you say they should budget that 20%, 50%, or 75 or 100% of their OTE is likely to come in?
Well, that my stomach.
It sort of panics you.
Well, again, it probably totally depends. I for an SDR, for an entry level job, I'd probably go 50%, but you need to put the effort in. Yeah. They are intense jobs, but they are such a good entry to sales. You learn so much, and from cold calling, you've got to put the effort in. But I'd say if you put the effort in, 100% is well within reach, and even beyond that too.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your dream script and lots of insight in terms of the world of sales for an account executive.
No worries at all.
All right. Bye. Bye.